Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to having us today here. Mr. Adam Boday here with us, and he will have a very interesting subject about our immune system. I always talk about the cellular immune system with Kaqun, and we decided now, because a lot of people asking for these webinars to inform and teach about the immune system. Unfortunately, nowadays it's very important to have this knowledge, and we would like to give you some insight of it. I've been doing these studies for 18 years with Cocoon water, mainly with the cellular immune system, namely with the B cells and the T cells and the natural killer cells. And I teach the doctors and the people to very much try to rely on their cellular immune system, because this is what born with us and this is one helping us. But your subject is very interesting also, because you coming with the absolutely great idea to build up and acquire immune system, and I would like you to share with us your experience having 2 master's degree. So I would like to have you to speak with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you, such a far distance, the other side of the ocean. But there are things that are common everywhere, on both sides of the ocean. That is that we would like to know how our natural immunity, how our natural digestion is affected by the microbes. The microbes are overwhelmingly living with us, and I would like to show a presentation in a few minutes. And what we would like to put on the table today is how the nature provides us the immunity, how the nature provides us with the triggers, the key triggers that start and fine-tune the immunity and the digestion. Because as far as you know, that the biggest organ with the role of in the role of immunity is the gut, from the mouth to the colons and to the rectum. Mm-hmm. And it is the biggest endocrine organ as well, and it contains, and it is in continuous connection with nature. Everything we put in our mouth will establish a connection.
Do you mean this is affecting us? So it's a good way or a bad way, but it will affect us no matter what we put in our mouth.
It's the action-reaction law. Mm-hmm. That some kind of action comes from the environment, and our body takes a reaction on the action. And if you get a lot of different triggers from the nature, from the surrounding environment, then all these triggers are forcing your body to do some kind of action. Mm-hmm. And if the triggers are bad, then there will be habits from the body to compensate the bad triggers, the bad conditions. And these step by step slowly degrading your health.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it all depends, yes.
Well, it all depends on your lifestyle, what you eat, how you live your life, how you sleep, how you exercise, and most importantly, what you do if you have any kind of illness or disease.
Sleeping is also a big question. I'm a member of the Hungarian Sleeping Association, and we always have meetings every month once, and it's more and more studies coming out of what kind of a disease associated with not sleeping right. And we just find out like half of Hungary is not sleeping right, or more.
Half of the earth, half of the population,
half of the world,
half of the world. There is an excellent an English genius. He's called Matthew Walker. He is the pioneer of sleep studies, and he published a book, Why We Sleep, and that book is an eye-opening book for me, because everybody takes sleep as a natural thing. I mean, you just go home, have a lunch or a dinner at about 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Then you go, you watch telly, and you go to sleep, and and you cannot sleep yourself. You cannot have the proper sleep because you give too many work to your gut with the late supper, and then you give too many blue light to your eyes, and that in the suprachiasmatic nucell in the brain, at the Zeitgeber part of the brain, it keeps you awake. The melatonin level is quite low, and you don't feel the pressure to go to sleep. And then the things,
like a chain reaction, huh?
The chain reaction, yeah. And you are awake and watch the ceiling and try to sleep, but all the things are working in your head.
Isn't that the digestive system is?
And the digestive is keeping you awake. Also, and the monitors, the screens, the mobiles, the blue light. It is an absolutely interesting topic, if I can say a few words about it.
Yeah.
How it comes that the eye, the human eye, the retina contains blue sensitive receptors, blue light sensitive receptors, all over, not just in the sharp vision point, but all over the retina contains them. Even if your eyelids are closed, you are able to notice to accept the blue lights. And the blue light is the trigger for the elimination of melatonin from the body. And when the color of the light changes in the evenings, it is like yellowish.
Yes.
It is the key trigger to start to build more, to produce more melatonin.
More melatonin.
And the melatonin relaxes you, and then you can fall asleep. And the melatonin level is absolutely parallel with the circadian rhythm with the sun. And how it works, it's very interesting. In the evening, when during the day the sun radiates into the earth is warm. And the earth radiates, back when the sun goes down, the earth radiates the energy up. And it lifts up the dust particles. And the sunshine coming through a big layer of dust particles, the color is warm, the yellow light is at sunset. In the mornings, when you wake up, then
you have a white light, no? Like
the blue light comes from the water because the earth is cold. And the air is heated up by the sunlight, the beams of the sun. And the water vapor makes the color of the light blue. So every day you have in the morning the blue colored light from the water vapor, and every afternoon you have the sunset color, the yellow, and that is the key trigger of the melatonin synthesis with the sensor in your eye. And that keeps you like in harmonic rhythm with the circadian rhythm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the problem with jet lag, huh?
Yeah.
When I'm traveling, it's changing this light.
And also the habits are absolutely making it.
Thank you very much keeping me up on this, but would like to speak more about your invention.
New terminology, the rebiosis. It is originated from Rodney Dietert, who is an immunotoxicologist, and in his book published 3 years ago, The Human Superorganism, he defines this theory that if your gut microbes are not in balance, not in harmony with your body, then you have to do the rebiosis. You have to rebuild the harmonic relation with the beneficial bacteria, and that's what keeps you in harmonic contact with nature. And the presentation we would like to give you today is about, first, let's talk about the symbiosis. What is the symbiosis? We humans, we are superorganisms. We have 30 to 50 trillion cells, the human cells. That is an estimation with this big gap. But you have to know 10 times more bacteria live on and inside us. It means 300 trillion bacteria is present in this chair and in your chair.
So 600 trillion. Already.
600 trillion. So altogether, we contribute for 700 trillion living cells. and we are organizing their movement, and we have to take care of them. So our body is a biological ecosystem, and this biological ecosystem has to be a good caretaker for the human cells and for the host cell, as a host body, sorry, and for the microbes who are the guests. Or we are the guests and they are the hosts.
Yeah, host, yes.
We have to decide.
Yes.
But the harmony with the nature is really based on how they treat us and how we treat them. And this idea is rather new. So we didn't learn it at school. We didn't got even a hint of it in the university. When I was in the university, then the Human Genome Project has just started. And there were estimations that 100,000 genes are going to be mapped by the Human Genome Project. But the disappointing consequence of the project was that 23,000 genes were detected only. Where are the missing 80,000 genes?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they? And the eggheads, they figured out that maybe the microbes who inhabit us, inside and outside, maybe they are responsible for all these different functions, what we don't have. You know that 23,000 cells is like a lice. A small jumping animal has more genes than humans. So
yes, it's like a Drosophila.
Drosophila, 60,000 genes.
60,
yeah.
Yes.
So what is the conclusion about this? The conclusion is that all these genes we really need, 100,000 genes, 100,000 different proteins we need in order to live properly on planet Earth. And we give only 23,000 proteins we can make by ourselves. And all these bacteria who reside on us, they are providing 4 times as many.
Mm-hmm.
And what comes out in this time is we are quite detached from nature. Can you imagine how much problem the chemicals can cause when you use them in agriculture, in farming, in the food industry, in the water treatment, in the drug industry, in the cosmetics, in the hygiene industry. Even if you look at the painting on the wall, if you check the carpet, they emit all these chemicals. And what all these chemicals are doing with our body? You know the answer, that sometimes our body takes them as a harm. The body is not really good to acclimatize to different chemicals, man-made chemicals. But these small bits that are not the small microbes, they are more sensitive to these chemicals. And some of the chemicals which are harmless for the human body are doing a great harm among the bacteria. And we are drinking water which is treated with chlorine, for example, or UV light, or arsenic, or well, the water treatment is just the sanitization. So the aim of water treatment is to kill every germ in the water. But I have to ask a question. As far as I'm a researcher, I always ask questions, and I'm looking for the answers. Why do we need to kill all bacteria in the water? Because we are afraid of the pathogens, yes?
Yes.
And why are we afraid of the pathogens? Because our immunity is not strong enough to defend us from the pathogens who can live in the water. And that is very important because right now we need help in our immunity. If we don't get help from the outside, if we drink non-sanitized water, then we will be ill, that is for sure.
Yes.
If you drink from a well in a countryside, well, all these agrochemicals and fertilizers, even the manure, is seeping into the groundwater, and you cannot drink it to be healthy. But how the human system has evolved. Our ancestors, 100,000 years ago, what did he drink? What are we used to? He had to find an open, plain water, lakes, rivers.
Yeah, but that time it was clean. I mean, that time was every water was clean.
Yeah, but 3.5 billion years ago, the Earth was inhabited by bacteria.
Yes.
So the bacteria are the dominant species, or the dominant.
And they still are around here, huh?
And they are still around here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It means that every water contained a multitude of bacteria, and we were in connection with across the water. We were in connection with the nature, with the bacteria, and they were the source, because we drank every day, and we drank the water the way it was obtained. It was even if it was a muddy little river or a pond, then we could drink it. And the food is the next one. The food was always, as far as we speak about it, was contaminated with bacteria. It was full of bacteria. And you know how they call it? The bacteria residing on the leaves. It's called the philosphere. Mm-hmm. 30 years ago, in science, the microbiology was dealing with the philosphere. It was dealing with the rhizosphere, with the roots. What are the microbes living on the roots of the plants? What are the microbes living on the seeds? It was the spermosphere, mm-hmm. The microbes living on the wheat. And the microbiology has evolved differently, mm-hmm. because we were focusing too much on the pathogens. And there is an estimation, a rough estimation. Do you know how many different bacteria are estimated by scientists? 30 million different bacteria are estimated. And what we are talking about, pathogens, are 100 of them are pathogens. And yes. They are pathogens in conditions when they overgrow, when they overpopulate. It's very interesting. They are living in an ecosystem. And if we talk about an ecosystem, you have to imagine a forest. A forest contains, like an oak forest. An oak forest contains a lot of oak trees. That are the dominant species. But down there in the bushes, you find elderberry, you find roses, you find all these small ones. And what you find there in a healthy ecosystem, you will find the boars, animals, you find all the worms, you find every kind of living organisms. You can find there poisoning mushrooms. But if they are in an ecosystem and if they keep controlling each other, they are in symbiotic relation with the trees, then they are useful there. If you kill the trees, all the other animals are going away. But if you kill the boars, then the ecosystem will be damaged. Mm-hmm. And if you kill they are called keystone species. Every ecosystem there are keystone species. In the respect of the gut microflora, they are the bifidobacteria, the lactobacilli. Uh-huh. These are the keystone species, and we know them, and we say that we have to put them back, and we consume it in large amounts. But only if you would like to propagate only the keystone ones, then you never get back the oak forest, the whole forest.
The whole forest, yes.
Only a monoculture.
Yeah, or the. I understand again. Yes.
Yeah. So about this ecosystem and the symbiosis, it's a very important thing, because it's a hypothesis, since it is not scientifically proven. Not randomized trials cannot be done on multiple variable studies like natural ecosystems, because there are some species that can control the variety of the species residing in an ecosystem. And these are the plants which are thought to be herbs, medicinal plants like chamomile, like yarrow, like elderberry, like rosehip. These are the things that our ancestors, by their personal experience or by experience, they figured out that they are helpful in conditions. But they were living in close connection with nature. And these herbs have a very specific microflora, which are very close to the good ones, what we need, what our body needs, what are beneficial ones. So if you eat and consume the herbs, herbal teas, herbal extracts, then the active ingredients of these plants will define what kind of ecosystem will be in your gut. Therefore, the chamomile is very good for the gastrointestinal problems. And what we figured out, the next question comes. The science has started to work on the thesis of the microbiome, the gut flora, and they used lab mice, germ-free mice. And I was participating in a project, and you know what came out? That the germ-free mice were so expensive. Why? Why the germ-free mice are expensive?
Why?
You have any idea?
Not really, because you have to really you have to keep them in absolute no contact,
no contact
no
with
toxic.
nature, no contact with nature, because from the nature they get all the bacteria, and then they are not germ-free anymore.
Yes.
So you have to give antibiotics to the mothers, and then you treat when the mother gives birth to the little mice. You feed them antibiotic again. And you give them sterile water, sterile air, absolutely encapsulated place, and sterile food. And more than half of them cannot survive these conditions because they are relying also on the bacteria as us. So they are very expensive because it is very expensive to keep them in controlled air conditions, sanitized water, totally sterilized water, sterilized food. And they are not really successful in living. And everybody knows the experiment when germ-free mice got fecal microbiota from fat people and from lean people. And the fecal microbiota from fat people made the mice fat. And the fecal microbiota from lean people made the mice slim. So it means that
the food was the same.
The food was the same, but they had the same chunk. But, but the microbiome made the difference. So everybody started eye-opening. Okay, we know the cause of obesity.
So sorry to stop you, but I have a lot of people who's taking Cocoon Drops. They telling me they were heavy weight, and after 3 months, 4 months, they got 15, 20, 30 pounds off, not doing any exercise. So maybe this is the reason. And some people who were skinny and could not gain weight, they take it, they 4 or 5 kilos, about 8, 9 pounds, they gain very quickly after they start to use it. It's very interesting. So this is the reason for that.
Yeah, because you put back the equilibrium, the balance of the good bacteria. Not just the good bacteria. It is not like probiotics, but you have to give a multitude, a wide variety of bacteria, because that is how the human species has developed for 200,000 years. And now the last 100 or 1,000 years or a couple of thousand years, we are depriving ourselves from the nature. We are depriving ourselves, but how? How we deprive ourselves? We are moving closer. We are living in dense cities, metropolises. And in the metropolises, you drink water which has to be sanitized. Otherwise, all these epidemics could erase all these metropolises. It's okay. Then what you eat, how you eat. Do you have any connection with the farm? Can you touch the Mother Earth in New York City or in Budapest, for example? No way. That is not the clean and healthy environment, because We are living in these conditions. What we eat is also industrially produced. All these chemicals are used to have a lot of carb, to keep them healthy.
It seems to me like an invasion against nature.
Yeah, it's a war against microbes. We are right now almost ended the war against microbes, but it comes out that the microbes are going to win this war.
Yes. Oh my God.
So, what was very important in this war, that if we live in metropolises, if we eat industrialized food, we drink the sanitized water, we have a personal hygiene, we use drugs and chemicals, we have not just the pharmaceutical, but the cosmetics also contain antibacterial agents. All these things are damaging this symbiosis between us and our microbes. It means that only the fittest will survive. And the fittest survive, they overpopulate, and they give us all these illnesses. In a short run, we call them diarrhea, constipation, but in a long run, they are associated with severe diseases like diabetes, like neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson. They are associated with all different kind of metabolic disorders, the digestion problems like IBS, like IBD, like SIBO, like Crohn's disease, are always in connection with how we treat our body, how we nourish our body, and what are the sources of microbes and how do we meet them. And what is very important, that if we meet these multitude of microorganisms, then we have a very alert and very well-trained immunity. As you asked in the introduction, we are born with the ability to have a learning capacity for the immunity, and this learning capacity is very important, since when we meet a microbe, then our body takes a sample, examines it. In the tonsils, for example, they are entering into the body through the oral cavity. They come through there, and the tonsils are taking the sample, and they figure out what kind of bacteria are there, and they are making the profile, and the bacteria are the models for the next step for the immune response, because the body will produce the specific antibodies for the antigens we ingested, and you are safe. But if you eat a lot of food, you know the Salmonella infection.
Yes.
The Salmonella infection is very, very poisonous, because you normally have vanilla ice cream, which is made of duck egg. The duck egg contained Salmonella, for example. But the vanilla ice cream contains no clue that there should be any kind of bacteria. The taste, the condition is an artificial thing. The vanilla ice cream is totally artificial. You never meet anything like that in nature, in vanilla ice cream. Yes. And your immunity is sleeping. It is very cold, and it reduces the immune response, and very sweet and very fat. It contains a lot of fat. And the first order from the brain is that sweet, full of fat, eat as much as you can. We stop every system, only the digestion will work, and we absorb all the sugar, and we have to take care of all the nice little droplets of fat, which is in an emulsion, which is very useful for the body. Okay, what happens? The Salmonella in there are thriving in this sugar containing, and the immunity is just sleeping because he has time off, because the body is concentrating on the consumption. And then they are overpopulate, and then they overwhelm the whole immunity. And then comes the diarrhea, and then come all the severe activities. After the sweetness and the very dense food, the pleasurable thing has done, then the immunity comes. And the immunity is overwhelmed and your body is down, you don't have any energy to anything because your immunity is working. It takes then the first thing, the only priority is to keep you alive. Okay, the immunity kills every dirty salmonella cells. What happens then? Your body is full of dead salmonella cells.
Toxic.
What happens then? The toxins. All your internal organs has to get rid of all these toxins. So for that little couple of minutes pleasure of an ice cream, which had a drop of salmonella, you misled your system because you masked the salmonella with the food. If you consume a duck egg in a natural habitat, which is a bit dirty, you know, some feathers and stuff on the shell, and you consume it as a half raw thing, and you only eat the duck egg with the salmonella, then your immune system will kill those few salmonellas in the first place, and that's it. Because it is not so sweet, not so fat, non-containing, so the immune system will focus on that you have already consumed it. And that is how our body works. But you have to give the body a lot of different kind of bacteria which are naturally in an ecosystem. So if we live in an urban area, then we have to do it somehow. And that was our idea. Can we reproduce it? How can we do that? And then it came out. I was attending to a herbalist class in the university, and they said that if you have the best herbs are grown in stress conditions, the more active ingredients, the concentration of active ingredients are higher if they are in stress conditions. It means that the nature is always in an action-reaction. But when you stress the plant will produce more material which are against the stress. And these material are selecting from the bacteria. And the bacteria residing on the leaves and flowers and roots of the herbs are very close to the bacteria that are beneficial for us. Which was first? They become herbs because they had a beneficial bacterial plants, or they have active ingredients that make an order in a non-balanced bacterial microflora. It is totally indifferent which was first, because the way they work, they control what kind of bacteria can thrive on them. But they don't control like we in a lab. That, okay, that's nice, I take it and propagate it. Oh no, they do with the whole ecosystem. Because the nature works in ecosystems, not in single cell propagation systems. That is our custom. Because we would like to know, okay, who is responsible for good digestion? Oh, bifidobacterium. Okay, then you eat a lot of bifidobacterium. If you have a bird,
that's only one.
That is only one. That is a monoculture. Yes. And if you give 16, how many microbes we have? In a normal gut flora, you have about 1,000 different species. Even if you have a bad gut flora or a very non-diverse gut flora, then you have at least 60, 70 different microbes. And with the new technique, not we, but very clever scientist has discovered that 80% of the bacteria cannot be cultivated at all with the traditional petri dish cultivation. Only 20%. So we had 1/5 of the bacteria we acknowledged from the petri dish style. When we started to use the PCR, the omics technologies, then we opened our eyes and, oh my God, multitude of new ones. Yes, and then the estimation came out that 30 million different bacteria can reside on planet Earth. 30 million different bacteria.
That's kind of a lot.
That's kind of.
And you have to keep it in one ecosystem.
Ecosystem, yeah.
So they're not just watching each other. There is fungus, protozoa, all those viruses.
Even the viruses.
Even the viruses. They all try to find their space in the host, call it host.
Yeah.
And then the immune system is supposed to overview all those.
All those, yeah.
So that's a kind of complicated mechanism.
But it's not a complicated thing, because how are the grandparents were preserving the cabbage, for example? They made sour cabbage.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Every culture has their fermented food.
Mm-hmm.
In the fermentation process, like the sourdough, like the kefirs, the yogurts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Eli Mechnikov, who was the first who identified the microbiome in the last century, more than 100 years ago. And he was studying people in the Caucasian region,
Mm-hmm.
and he figured out that they have their own special sourdough, and most importantly, they have their kefir. And he said that the key,
The bacteria.
yes, not the bacteria.
Especially.
Well, first they said they were thinking gradually. Okay, these people are very healthy and
Yes.
they live very long, more than 100 years.
Yes.
What they do? They work a lot. They eat a lot of non-healthy food,
Yes.
what we consider food.
Drink.
But they drink, yeah. But they regularly drink kefir. Oh, the kefir.
The one.
That will be the one. So, what we had, the bifidobacteria and the Lactobacillus kefiri were discovered, and they said, okay, that is the key for longevity.
Longevity.
Oh yeah.
So, if I may, I'm really fascinated about what you're saying, because you're coming from a different angle. We usually just see one angle, but right now you're telling us how nature works in your eyes and in nature eyes. And what I see right now, if I may say that, most of the products I see, they have 3 billion, 6 billion in one capsule.
Yeah.
Lactobacillus and you know, they are really fighting with each other with brands on
Who can give you more?
who can give you
More concentration in bacteria.
Yeah, I learned it in the university also. You know, when you take this in a gut, in an hour you have not 9 billion, you have 18 billion.
Yeah,
They
double in one hour.
In 1 hour, they
yeah.
double. So that's kind of huge numbers, I believe. So I understand what you're saying, but what I see with your invention is you have not 1 or 2 or 3, we have over 60 different type of bacteria thriving there.
Yes.
So that's what makes it more nature-wise, more from the tree, from the
soil,
Uh-huh.
with the help of the herbs, because the herbs are selecting them, and the beneficial ones are there, and they don't let the pathogens to propagate.
So that's why this is so effective compared to the other ones, because it's more close to nature.
It is the natural way, because you know there are animals who can consume that very high concentration, that 9 billion cell-forming units (CFUs) per gram. You know where in nature how you call that? That's poop.
Uh-huh.
That's feces that contains that lot of and rabbits are coprophags, and they are eating their feces that contain a lot of bacteria because they reseed themselves.
Oh, they
Reseed themselves. So they have special soft feces, and that special soft feces contains a lot of bacteria. The number is equal to the probiotic numbers we are dealing with the pharmaceutical industry right now. The billions of cells are there. But the humans are not that kind. So we are not coprophagics. We in the nature, the humans are acquiring from every food, from every water, very low concentration, but very wide range. And if you treat yourself as a lab mouse, then and you don't connect to any bacteria, or you just connect to some bacteria, then your immune system, your digestion system cannot be tuned to the different foodstuff you eat and drink. It is very difficult to have an equilibrium with a few species. It is very good and very natural to have with a lot of species.
And I always want to ask you that how you make them friendly with each other, because that's also must be a very interesting.
It's called the umbrella effect.
Uh-huh.
Because all these very wise scientists has figured out that some microbes cannot be propagated like animals. The panda bears cannot propagate they cannot breed in captivity.
Yes.
Yeah, many animals in the zoos, they have breeding problems,
Yes.
so they are infertile. They are detached from their natural habitat, from that microbial habitat as well. And their body, their superorganisms, keep them from having a child because it is not a friendly environment that way.
Mm-hmm.
So the infertility issues also can occur, that you are not close enough to nature and your bacteria are modifying all these problems. But you have to know with the microbes, in this case, there are very nasty ones like the coli, bacilli, or the enterococcus. And coli and enterococcus are abundant in the gut. And if you don't have them, then some of the keystone, the cornerstone species that cannot be propagated by themselves, they can only propagate in the presence of coli and enterobacters.
Yes.
So they need them as an umbrella.
Yes.
So the big population, like the mushrooms, cannot be propagated, not the mushroom, the wild mushrooms, you know, the wild varieties
Yes.
that are the truffle, which is the most expensive ones. They only live next to the trees because they are in symbiotic relation with the roots of the trees. And without the trees, you cannot have the truffle. Without the truffle, the trees are not really good conditions because their area is smaller. They don't have that much food because the mushroom, the mycelium, helps to get it water and nutrients. It's very important in this way.
So they live with each other again.
Yeah.
In symbiosis.
It's a mutual connection.
This is really fascinating. Wow. If you look at, if I may say that one, as you started it, if you have, let's say, a mother who has a child coming from, let's say, C-section, that's the same bacteria flora what the child not getting, is it?
Yeah, it is.
So it's the same.
It is the same story.
It's the same story.
Same story, because the normal way, the vaginal delivery, like a coat, you get the first microbiota.
Yes.
And if you are born with C-section, then your microbes are closer to the chairs of the hospital than your mother. So
it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing in a hospital to get. So it's very interesting.
Very interesting. And if you have a course of antibiotics, then course of antibiotics are selective to most of the bacteria, the pathogens, of course, and the good ones as well.
So not just the bad one dies,
but the good ones.
The good ones too.
The good ones too. And what you have is a tabula rasa, a clean place, and the first one, the pioneers, can inhabit it. And it can be a returning illness, a returning problem with bacterial overgrowth, like the SIBO is a classic example of it. If you have SIBO, that it means that your small intestine is contaminated with bacteria. The bacteria are living normally in the small intestine, but in 10,000 per gram concentration. And if they start to overgrow, they will compete with you for food. And you drink the yogurt, which is full of good bacteria and proteins and fat and sugars, and the bacteria will consume it, not you.
Not you.
It will make small bubbles. Yeah, it will make small bubbles and
more gas.
Yeah, and then you feel this bloating. You cannot get rid of it because it is in your 6 meter long. How much is it in feet?
Seven. It's about 21 feet.
21 feet long tube.
Yes.
It's full of with little bubbles. And why is it important? It is very important because for the pressure, it's very sensitive. It starts to move it. And then you have the diarrhea.
Yes.
In this way, because the motility is faster. But if they start the motility, then the pressure is even bigger. And you have the bigger discomfort.
Great.
But if you treat the bacteria with some kind of toxin, like an antibiotic, but you don't give the right dose, then they start to build a shelter for themselves. It's called exopolysaccharides. And they are making a very tough surviving bunker for themselves, and they attach to the small intestine and they try to stay there. And they try to survive the antibiotics. And you kill with the antibiotics, you kill a lot of species, but the encapsulated ones are safe. And then you drink another yogurt and you have the same bloating and all this stuff again. Yeah, and it's
let's say somebody goes to some oncotherapy, let's say radiation, or goes to chemotherapy. The first thing they complain, they have vomiting, they have discomfort on the
first of all, the chemotherapy and the radiation therapy, your body recognizes that you have some kind of intrusion from outside, a toxic material, and it wants to get rid of it. And the first thing, when you look at the animals feel sick or feel ill, they don't eat, don't drink.
Yes, they don't.
And that's the same that happens. And why it is important? It is very important because the cancer cells are very fast metabolizing cells. And they want to eat everything. And that's why, you know it very well, that's why they have the anaerobic conditions, because they have the fast metabolism. They grab in all the sugar and they make, without oxygen, they make lactic acid. And that is the metabolic. When you provide the oxygen, then the normal cells and the mitochondria are able to produce the reactive oxygen that induces the apoptosis, so the programmed cell death, which is very important in the treatment, in the natural treatment of cancer. But in this case, when you stop eating, it means that you're instinctively starve the cancer cells. The other thing is that when you have an irradiation therapy or a chemotherapy, then your gut microflora is totally demolished. But if they are demolished, then all these nutrients you are needed for the regeneration processes are not available for the body. So therefore it is very important to have it, to always replenish it in a natural way. If you have a capsule even if you have a capsule with 7 different species or 12 different species, that they are still 12 different species that are made in bouillon, soup, or made in sugar environment. And they are thriving only in sugar and soup. The product we are developing is the drops, the Cocoon Drops, contain bacteria that can thrive on normal food, on the herbs, not bouillon, not a specific bacterial composition, but it's just a natural way to replenish them, natural variety with a natural metabolism, and they are easier to rehabilitate.
I see Cocoon Drop was taken with just normal water.
Yeah.
And it looked very good and works very well. Really, just normal water. But what we see, acceleration with the oxygen, that was just shocking me. The first time you told me that, it was really, first of all, nobody can take the oxygen out of the water, and you did. So as soon as you drop the bacteria flora in it, they
consumed. Okay, but how much? You remember that the test was very interesting because the cocoon contained loads of oxygen, and all these instruments were. And we dropped the cocoon drops into the water to the cocoon water, and it went down, but only 10%. And it stayed that way for 7 hours, and we stopped the experiment because we didn't have any more time for doing it. But for 7 hours, open air, twice as much as the saturation oxygen pressure, and it is solid, rock solid. And it was very interesting. And I, as a researcher, I went for the explanation. How do they work? Why do they have such a good hybrid effect, hybrid vigor, we call it? Very important. The cells in the gut lining, the epithelium, are consuming the short-chain fatty acid that are metabolites of the bacteria. The consumption of short-chain fatty acids needs a lot of oxygen because the mitochondria produce a lot of energy out of the short-chain fatty acids, but with the beta oxidation pathway. And all these little cells are in need of oxygen, and they take out the oxygen from the lumen because they use it for the metabolism of short-chain fatty acids. And the lumen will be anaerobic. So drinking the Kaqun water in the colon, the Kaqun water will provide a lot of help to maintain the anaerobic condition for the good fermentation. And for the oxygen for the epithelial cells, which is very, very important. It is like, you have a layer here, all the lumen is anaerobic, and here in the layer, the Kaqun water is absorbed by the cells, and they take up the oxygen, and then they can utilize the energy from the short-chain fatty acids. And my jaw was dropping, and
So
when I figured it
that's
out.
what it is.
Yeah, and also the Kaqun water is very interesting because if the water has no taste at all, the Kaqun water is a water-tasting water, which isn't just a normal water. And I found a study from the 70s, maybe the 60s, so it is older than me, which is a thing now. Yeah,
Very good, thank God.
Yeah, that if the water has no taste at all, then the osmotic adsorption starts in the mouth. And I was looking for the answer, why can you measure this, the oxygen partial pressure in the blood after 5 minutes contact with, because if you drink a glass of water, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to get to the colon. It means that it should take at least 20 minutes to get the oxygen from the water
to the tissue.
To the tissue.
Yes, extremities, yes.
Yeah, but after 5 minutes you can measure
it. Yes.
Yeah. And the key thing is that the oxygenated water, without the taste, any kind of taste, is absorbed osmotically in the mouth.
Yes, we measure that. Actually, I was shocked.
Yeah,
I was shocked when they just hold it in the mouth. They don't swallow it. In 3 minutes, the oxygen partial pressure starts to go up.
But that means that all the lymphatic system is rejuvenated in 5 minutes.
So,
in this way.
but now you're telling me great things. Let me tell you something. What I did for the drops about 5 years ago. I had a German professor came here, and he told me to buy a chi machine. And the chi machine was very interesting because there was no electric cables coming out, nothing light in it. But he told me this is capable to energize every living things in the world. Could be animal, could be a human, no matter, this will do that. So I said, this is pretty expensive stuff what you're telling me. Here I said, how much would you get for this? And he tells me usually about between 25,000 to 50,000 euro. And you know, when you just meet somebody and you lift up these things and you look at it, and I said, you know, I don't think you can convince me. So he bring me studies and show me things, and I said, you know, thank you very much, but I don't want to buy this. But after we did the experiment with the water and with drops, I was calling him back and I said, hey, I have something good for you. Now we have living things, and let's see what kind of the energy you can give. And he recommended to put the drops for 72 hours on the top on that. And every time we have a new batch, fresh, very strong tribes, we put them on this for 72 hours. We leave them alone and we put them on this machine. And I was shocked what we saw, you know. You can see them on the microscope, how energetic they get. So from that on, every single Cocoon Drop ever made and sold, all 16 countries in the world, we have put them on the energizer. So we actually energize, giving them info. I believe it now because I saw it. It really does it. I don't know if you know that, but this is really
Yes,
special.
yes, you told me yes, and as a researcher, I always go for the what is the explanation. And what is very interesting that the water is a big information carrier material.
Mediator.
And if you have a chi machine, anyhow it works. It makes the resonance, the frequency, well, propagating the living or helping the living organisms.
Somehow interfering in that, but in a natural way.
In a more poor explanation is that we don't really have any kind of problems with the cocoon drops. I mean, we don't get it back as, oh, something is inside, they are not working,
Yes.
they smell bad.
Yeah,
You
no.
never get it with the cocoon ones.
No, it's interesting.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, it is interesting.
It's because I believe most of us, we take it with the water. And more and more people taking the drops now, the people who took the water before, and it was amazing, really saving people's life. I have a child from a BBC producer, called me up one day from London and said, oh, my child has a problem for about 5 years, could not have a stool, normally produced. And they had to have force physically to get the stool out.
Oh my God.
It was really bad, and she's 4 or 5 days every week, 4 or 5 days one time she has a stool, but even a small amount. So can you imagine that agony for the family?
Yeah.
And they have to use the spoon or the finger. So it was a very painful, bloody situation. And then she heard my presentation in London at the Royal Society of Medicine, and I sent some samples to her to give it to the daughter. And about 2 weeks later, she called me up and she said, you cannot ask me things I would not do for you, because my daughter has 2 times a day she can go, every day. So that was amazing. So next couple of weeks later, I was in a BBC production movie. I was in there talking about the drops, and it was really amazing. She was just, oh, I take it, my mother take it, my father take it, 21 people in the family was taking it. So that's really special. And it makes me feel really good about that.
That is something. That's why we started in the first place to do
Yes.
it. But since you use it regularly,
Yes.
you don't have to use a lot of amounts. When you have a condition, digestion problem, then you can have 10 drops, 12 drops, 20 drops. It depends on how severe the condition is. And when you do it for 2 weeks or something, and then you figure out that something is changing and you are getting better and the balance is coming back, then you can come down with the dosage. You can go to 10, 8 drops per morning and evening. And you can maintain.
So there is no difference between a male or a female?
No, it is a concentration in the water. If you have a big glass, then you put 15 drops. 1 milliliter, 100 milliliter water, at least 5 drops. So don't drink a lot of water.
You have to shake it or no? No, just drop it in it and just
Like
drink
James Bond.
it. Yeah. So just
stir it, not
stir it. Yes.
I don't stir it myself.
No, okay.
I just.
You just drink it.
What I really like is that when I put the drops in, I like to smell the first aromas of the herbs, just only faint, like an unnoticing touch of herbs in the water. Then I feel that it's alive and it is working.
It's working then.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about children? Many people asking me about the children.
For children, the children are in the state of the learning immunity, so they can deal with the same concentration as because they have a faster metabolism. They can respond better for the wide variety of bacteria, so they can drink the same, but they drink less. So they drink 1 deciliter water. How much ounces is this? 3 ounces.
Yes.
1 deciliter is
1 deciliter, but 3 ounces.
3 ounces. They drink, small kids drink 3 ounces. Breastfed babies. When you do the breastfeeding, only the mother should take because that is the normal way.
Perfect. Yeah, I always say that.
You reproduce, you do
Yeah.
the same as nature has designed us. So when the child can eat solid food, then can drink the drops, the
Wow.
cocoon drops. And they drink smaller glass, so they need smaller amount, less drops in this way.
Okay, so I think we are pretty much covering this issue around this. Of course, there is much more.
Well, we can talk about
Much-
it
much
for
more.
hours.
Much more know about this. So let's see if somebody can you talk about the regulation, impact of our microbiome, thinking of the soon to be structured. What do you mean? What is your opinion about 5G?
5G. I have no opinion on 5G since electromagnetic vibration is
Is
something.
that it could hurt the microbiomes? What do you think?
Of course it can.
They can?
Yeah.
Because there's a big debate about it right now. Many people believe it is not good to even go close to 5G. Many people would say they would have a better quality of life and faster living and better internet.
I cannot imagine faster internet would do any good for us. But very simple. If you have a chi machine, you put the cocoon drops on the chi machine and you
Yes.
fortify it with energy, with life energy.
Yes.
And you have non-harmonic or disharmonic energy pulsation from different sources in different antennas with a very high frequency. I don't think it is beneficial for the body, but the most...
because human cells are really an electric device. You look at the cells.
They are electric devices, yes.
Yeah, you can see. I think that normally the cells is living on minus 70 millivolt. And in the inflamed tissue is about, the cells could be minus 50 millivolt. And to have a new cell production, you need to drop down to under minus 20 millivolt, which is mean getting close to the cancer line. So if there is not functioning right, there is no function of mitochondria, then
the apoptosis,
it will not kick in. So I believe what they try to say, 5G works on 60 hertz, and that one would be a very close to how the human cells is working.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have this all the time, this abundance of 60 hertz of pounding on you, radiation on you, it might could interfere with the cells. But what it does with what would do for the microbiome? Because now you tell me we are just microbiomes.
It is a very easy experiment, and everyone who has a microscope can do it. You have 2 bottles. You take rainwater. You put drops in it, Kaqun drops, into bottles, and you place one on the top of your operating phone. And in the morning, you just watch it through the lenses. You will be certain what is happening.
Really?
Yeah, of course, it is very easy.
I never done this. You done it?
Of course I do.
Whoa, I want to be there.
Only so I don't let my children to sleep with the handies.
What about this protect? Yes?
The protectors. Yeah.
Yes?
You mentioned the benefit. The next question. I read the other day about the Chinese yellow soup used for health, based on the dried feces of healthy persons. That is the traditional Chinese medicine's answer for the fecal microbial transplantation. And all these 5,000-year-old medicinal doctrine has used it with great efficiency, but the Cultural Revolution took it away from China and from the rest of the world, so we don't use the yellow soup anymore.
Also, as other question coming in here, how long are the drops viable?
Viable. How long the drops last unopened? The drops, we regularly recalculate and recheck the quality. And if you keep it in a refrigerator and they are unopened, after 1 year we cannot say that they are damaged anyhow. After 2 years, they are tired. So they need more time to do the regeneration process.
But it has to be in a refrigerator.
It has to be between 5 and 12 degrees centigrade.
Yes.
Centigrade.
So what the government says, 3 months?
The 3 months is an obligation. We cannot say more than 3 months because we cannot guarantee the conditions, how they keep it in the store, how you take it home, you put it on the dashboard of
maybe
a
sunlight
hot car.
hot car.
Yeah. And that is the safety for safety reasons, but that is not.
But
this
if,
is the
let's
best
say, because
before.
last time, I've been taking this for 2 years, and I lost 18 kilo, which is mean 36 pounds I lost.
Oh my God.
So and not just lost, I gained back
Power and muscle.
Not just, I feel energetic. I've been working since 5 o'clock in the morning in Hungarian time now. Now we are here, I don't know, 9:30 in Hungary at nighttime. And I've been in different parts of the country doing presentation, coming back here. So I feel energetic. And I had about 20 minutes exercise today still. But I never forget to take the drops in the morning and take the drops at night. Never forget it. That's the last thing. Actually, I had a problem with sleeping too. And as I'm going to tell you, I start to take it. And because anywhere I go in the world, no matter where I wake up, I take the drops with me and I put 15 drops in it, in the water. If it's not cocoon, then other water. But what happens, that's the last thing I do. So I follow sleep. They put me sleep.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel. And in the morning, very interestingly, the taste of this, because it's a good taste, makes me go in the morning, before do exercise, I take it again.
Yeah.
And that makes the whole difference. I've been taking it for 2 years. I was going to ask you too, other people asking me how long you should take it. I think
if you can provide yourself organic food and untreated water, then you don't have to take it. That is the question. If you can provide for it. If you live in a countryside, you have totally close connection with nature, then it is okay. Contraindications.
Any contraindications?
Of course, there are contraindications. There are special conditions when you are advised not to eat any kind of fermented food, like the histamine allergies. You have histamine allergies, then you, on your own decision, don't use the Cocoon Drops. But if you have a doctor and you can consult with the doctor, medical practitioner, then under the supervision, you can have slowly, because there is a very interesting mechanism. Since the bacteria are providing nutrients for the epithelial cells, when you drink the Cocoon Drops, then your body is prepared that bacteria are present. What happens then? It starts to produce histamine. But since the bacteria are good and they are going to provide nutrients for the epithelial cells in the gut, then the gut will produce deamine oxidase enzyme, which reduces the level of histamine. That is the proper way. First, action-reaction. When you eat something from outside, then your body needs to be alert. What is in there? Stop. Just let me control it. And when it figures out that it provides us a lot of nutrients and they are beneficial, then it helps to produce the enzymes that degrades those materials like histamine, which makes you alert. So it's very, very important.
It's a very good question.
If you have a doctor,
very good question.
I say that it is also contraindicated for breastfed babies, as far as and there are some conditions when you have allergies to any of the herbs are in the recipe, then I don't advise.
What about another question came from London? It was about the drops being taken in empty stomach, or also with food.
Food. We are developing a special indication for doctors, but for general public, the first thing in the morning is, as you said.
It was perfect for me.
Yeah, when you wake up, on empty stomach, you drink the Kaqun water with the Cocoon Drops.
Yes.
Then it takes 15 minutes to get the cells into the colon, and then they can do their beneficial work in working or propagating. So that is the microbial rebalancing, the rebiosis. When you drink it in the evening, your stomach is not empty. Then all the nutrients, all the metabolites the bacteria are making from the herbs are absorbed. And that is the second way, but the bacteria are dead because the digestion system kills all the bacteria, which is in small concentration.
The way I can think of when I go to sleep, and I take it before, so this puts me sleep, not just I'm getting into deep sleep, it looks like everything slows down, the digestive system slows down completely. That's what I believe when I take it. And then all these pathogens what is in there, it's not dead, but they not moving. There's no motion.
Yeah, there is motion, but you have a very active life. During the daytime, your active life stops all the digestion. And when you go to sleep, then the digestion starts. But when you drink the drops, it contains the active ingredients from the chamomile, from the yarrow, and they relax it. It doesn't mean they stop. They just relax. And the wormwood there produces a lot of very good secretion that kills the bacteria, the pathogens as well, the good ones too. But when you sleep and you're in normal sleep, your gut is resting also.
Yes.
As you say.
Yes, that's the first thing is happening.
But first you produce the juices that kills the bacteria in the resting place, because otherwise in 8 hours they are propagating more multitudes.
I was thinking of that way. These guys more slow down, sleeping, actually they put them to sleep, and the probiotics what you take goes in actively and replaces, kills it. That's the way I was thinking of. But that's good.
That's good.
It's something like that, no?
It is.
That's the way it should be.
That is the normal.
Yeah, so take it on empty stomach is better, and at nighttime don't eat before, let's say 2 hours before you take it.
At least 2 hours before you go to sleep.
Before
you go to sleep. But that is, your gut needs rest.
So right now I'm not gonna eat dinner because it's 6 o'clock over. I only eat at 6 o'clock. Usually go to bed at 10. So 4 hours is safe. Perfect. Okay, so that's why I have a perfect sleep. I go to 10 o'clock, I wake up at 6 o'clock.
That is perfect.
Yes. Okay, so now I know. So that's why I love these guys. So you can help me with this.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Okay.
What is the exact protocol for taking the Cocoon Drops? Is it 10 drops in the evening and 3 drops twice a day? Yeah, it is a very good question. What is the exact protocol for taking the Cocoon Drops? Is it 10 drops morning and evening on an empty stomach for 2 weeks, and then go down to 3 drops twice per day for the rest of your life? I wouldn't say rest of your life, because the Cocoon Drops are helping to rehabilitate your body, and your body will be very good adjusting to the different foods and different conditions. And you only have to take into consideration a couple of things. You are contacted with antibiotics, severe drugs. You have to take drugs every day, like non-steroid inflammation, NSAIDs, drugs. Then the microbiome is degraded. Then I recommend to use every day the Cocoon Drops. But if you live a normal life, then you can keep it out for 3 weeks, and then you will return it when you feel
anyway.
Yeah. So
you start to get bloated, when you start to get bloated, you will train.
You start again.
Yes.
Yeah. And
that was a good question. That was a good question.
That was a very good one.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question. The chi machine.
Yeah, I have to look this up because it was 2 years ago when he left, but I can, whoever sent who is the chi machine, I can send it to you. It's no problem. And then Can you take the drop if you are taking medication, other herbal supplements?
Yes. If you have to be very well aware that if you take the drops, then the absorption, the digestion will be effective. The absorption will be effective. It means that if you drink other herbal teas or extracts or tinctures, then you have to take into consideration that more will be absorbed. So it will work more and with more emphasis. We have a lot of feedbacks from patients who are using the drops, and they say that the supplements they started 10 years ago, taking mineral supplements or herbs, started to work again. It's not started to work again, but the digestion has started. They could absorb it again, so they had the same feeling. So it is, if you take sleeping aid, for example, or blood pressure reducers, then you have to take into consideration that they will, if you have any kind of help to the digestion, then all the drugs will be absorbed better, faster, more.
So that's the way we have to think of.
Yeah.
Very good. Autism. I don't have any study or anything on this yet.
There is no study, but with the GAP syndrome, you might have any idea that does the drops and water help heal autism? There is a connection between the gut flora and the autistic syndromes and the neural problems and attention deficit disorders and all these. What we figured out is that we could help with the life conditions, for example, the stool. Many of these people who suffer from these neural disorders has a terrible digestion. They usually have constipation. And if you relieve this, then you make the life easier for them. And then the parents usually say that you help the children. I wouldn't say we help the children. We let the digestion work better for the children. And then what they figured out, they find out that the children start to eat different vegetables, or they start to accept other food than they used to when they start to drink the water, the drops and the water. And it is a very good thing, but I wouldn't say it is not professional to say that, oh yes,
yes. No, we don't have no study on this in the water. And I have one other things I want to tell you. Many people asking me, of course the questions is coming constantly, but we have many thousand times people asking me, is that drop is good in Kuala Lumpur, in Singapore, or Australia, or Las Vegas, or London, Germany? We have all these countries, we're sending these drops, and it's amazingly everywhere the same coming back. I know the food what they eat
is totally
different, but somehow if they bloated, and let's say in Malaysia they take it, they're not gonna be bloated. If you look at them in United States, if they have a, let's say, bloatness problem, they take it, they are not bloated. I had 20 guys, heavyweight, over, let's say, 200 kilo, just heavy. And when they start to take this, and they had 1 time a week stool, and they're eating 8,000 calories per day, it is really garbage. Stress on the body, and the liver, and on the digestive system. Soon as they start to take it, in about a month, everybody just, you have no idea what letters I get, what people are sharing with me. And all I can say, no, we don't, we just try to get your balance. So that's why I want to say, no matter where you use it, it is always really working.
Yes, because you connect to the nature again. And what you said, that the food is totally different, but the way the food is processed is not different, because they kill all the bacteria. They produce the food with chemicals. They treat the water.
Oh, so that's why.
So
that's
the
why.
basic problem is that we are distant from nature. And when you use the drops, you are getting closer to nature, and your zone of comfort expands.
And you bring
That's
in,
it.
stopping the hypoxia, bringing in clean water.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. That's why
happening.
nature is happening. That's fantastic. Next.
If it works on the gut epithelium, will it have a stabilizing, measurable effect on the lung epithelium, alveolar membrane, especially interest during current SARS-like epidemic? What I can tell you is that for the epithelials of the lung, it is recommended to go to a forest, national parks, where the humid conditions and all these leaves are breathing, because what we have here, the Cocoon Drops, is helping the digestion system, which is not needing oxygen. For the breathing apparatus, for the nose, for all these, they need oxygen. So you have to use a different flora, different conditions. I wouldn't recommend it to inhale it. In this respect, I am working on a vaporizer kind of stuff, which is in a very aerobe way propagated, but that's far from being ready right now.
Okay.
Does
Lactose intolerance. Cocoon drops have for the baby. Lactose intolerance.
Can Cocoon Drops? It's a difficult question. Officially we can say no. What happens is the lactose intolerance is a cause of different. It can be a cause of different conditions. If you don't have enzymes, lactase enzyme, then if you start to drink little milk or milk sugar, lactose-containing food, and then drinking the Cocoon Drops with Cocoon water, you might get back the production of the enzyme. And then what experienced here in Hungary with many lactose intolerant people, that they are gaining back the ability to produce this enzyme.
How long time on this?
After 3 or more months.
For more months.
More months. But what we suggest is that keep the diet, the lactose-free diet, for at least 2 months. Okay. Have the drops.
Yes.
Have the drops, because the epithelium needs to be reborn, and the longest living cells in the gut lining are living for at least 2 months.
So need to take.
So you have to
even 3
you
months.
have to change. You have to
for...
change. Yeah, you have to wait for every cell is new, and then you introduce again the lactose.
Wow, this is it's not a promise, but it's a good hope.
Yeah, but if you trigger it with lactose, and it makes an inflammation, then it will be always inflamed, so it won't work properly. It only works properly if you wait with the diet, with the totally lactose-free diet. You wait, and then when you start, you don't drink 2.5 gallons of milk, fresh milk from the cow.
Of course,
you drink a small amount.
A small amount,
because you have to restart
the
production.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to restart the propagation of the production of the lactase enzyme.
Okay.
Does plaque build up in the GIT cause malabsorption of the Cocoon Drops? Oh yeah, malabsorption is always a problem if you have if you are diagnosed with malabsorption condition, then try the Cocoon Drops with small steps. Start with 3 drops, and then after 2 days go to 5 drops in the morning, and then after 2 days 7, 10. So slowly raise the dosage, and you will figure out what is the effective dosage.
I see the question here is coming from London, who did the question, and I think I know who is it. I hope he's the one, and I just want to tell him, I remember him when he was in Hungary, and he was in very weak condition and very poor condition actually. losing a lot of weight, a lot of muscle weight. And then we start to use the baths and drinking the water. Then we introduce the drops. Now I think he's up on 8 kilo. He was gaining, and not fat, muscle.
Of course, muscle.
Muscle. So
But
so we just like to tell him, you know, we wish him well. I think he's the one.
okay.
So we have five more minutes. So anybody would like to have questions, please. We are trying to get this great presentation. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the good wishes.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you so much. I hope everybody healthy and happy. There's a new one, as Cocoon Drops. We talked about this from the babies.
Yeah.
Okay, so if until I think we covered very much everything. Maybe we should talk about it. You know, end of the presentation, we have a where to get to this.
A message. We had a very good question, and a question from a genius. And with this question, answering this question wasn't very easy for us, but we tried to figure out something. The question was, why do you think these species that are in the Cocoon Drops are the best ones for our health? That was the question. Part of the question, but that was the whole sentence. That is a very important question.
Yes, exactly.
That is a very important. We are not the ACEs givers. We don't say that we know everything. What we know is that we are distanced from nature, and if we can provide a wide variety of a healthy ecosystem of microbes that are residing on the herbs, and we can propagate them, and we can produce it, and you can put it into your water twice a day, you are closer again to nature. And then all the mechanisms that are connected to the nature are starting again.
Yes.
The immunity, the digestion, it's fine-tuned. You can sleep a bit better. A small step. But it is missing from everyone who lives in industrialized countries, in big towns, cities, or buys the food in supermarkets or shops. So we are giving not the best ones. We are giving a wide variety that draws nature closer.
So that's why we are reaching our point faster.
Yeah.
Because if we just talk about this today, somebody has a constipation, somebody has diarrhea, somebody is fat, somebody is tiny, teeny, skinny, and all of them somehow getting close to the fundamental, to nature, and all getting their answers.
Better, yeah.
But we cannot say this is for only overweight people.
No.
Or this is only for
Crohn's disease.
Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
No. This is everybody comes around the tree, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Everybody come closer
to nature.
Yes, closer to nature. So that's what I think is a good question.
Yeah. How do you know how many drops to take with each dose, 5 or 15? We answered it before, so after 3 ounces of water, you count 5 drops. If you drink 9 ounces, then you take 15.
Yes.
Would eating herbs and vegan diet not do a similar thing? I have a specific answer to this because we are not advocating any extreme dietary habits. It means that you need to have a mixed seasonal diet. And if you are a type who is very good with vegan diet, then don't eat meat and animal products. If you are a carnivore people and you eat only meat, then that is your type. And if you eat vegan diet and herbs,
it would be the same just to eat the herbs?
Oh yes, it is the same if you have...
Let's say we have 60 different herbs now. Yeah. So the 60 different herbs should be eaten all the time. But I believe the bacteria flora would be different.
Of course, because they are not
the
fermented. And
it's not fermented.
Not fermented well.
You would have to ferment
it. Yeah, in the first place.
In the first place. So that would be no good.
Well, if you live in a country, what we have told, if you can provide your food yourself, organic ways, and you drink from a stream from the hills, which is not contaminated, then you don't need these drops. Any other conditions, you are deprived from the nature somehow. If you drink bottled water only, then it is sterile, it contains no bacteria at all. And your body is used to get the bacteria through the water. So it is difficult. If you rinse the herbs in water for overnight, then you have some kind of similar effect, but not the same.
Wow, this is amazing. This is really good. And it's not complicated, you know, you just have to get close to nature.
Yeah.
So until no question coming in, I would like to tell you about our next week. We will send you any information. Next week we will have Professor Endre Mate Endre coming from Debrecen University, and will be with us here talking about the genomes and talking about how Drosophilas can teach us how the water works and how the oxygenation works, how we can fight against diabetes, and it's going to be a very, very interesting subject. So if you wish to come and enjoy with us an hour and a half, I will invite him here, and he's a world-renowned professor, and what he says in the topic is really, really important, and it's a big proof how the immune system works and how it's possible to detect it. So that's it. And through genomes, you know, there was, just you said, long time ago, we have, you know, no idea how to prove this.
Yeah.
Now, without this proof, there's no science, actually.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. So thank you very much having
Thank
us
you
for
very
tonight in Hungary, and good day in United States and Canada, and in London and Paris and all around the world. And thank you coming
Thank you
today.
very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
And we wait for you coming back, because your word is absolutely fascinating for us. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.